And there goes 2024, and it's time to pick the 10 best shmups of the year. Making this list is never easy, after all, there were many releases. Adding to that my natural difficulty in organizing lists, the challenge only grows. But with some effort I defined a few criteria and finally completed this curation. Before diving into the list itself, I think it's important to explain the criteria used. After all, there are some solid reasons why each game is included. First, I filtered out anything not released in 2024 for obvious reasons. I also excluded remakes, remasters, re-releases, etc. The idea was to focus solely on original games from this year. Additionally, I left out demos and older games that received updates. Finally, I limited the list to games I actually played, as I believe that only through first-hand experience can one form a honest opinion. Another point, all types of shmups are considered. Yoko, tate, run and gun, rail shooters, and multi-directional. Personally, all this genre shared a lot of shmup DNA in their formulas, so excluding any of them wouldn't make sense. It's also necessary to emphasize something very important. This list is entirely based on my personal preferences. These are games that, despite a busy routine, made me find time to play them. And let's face it, in adult's life, that's an excellent filter. Managing to find the energy, time and drive to play, often at the end of the day, in what little free time remains. Every game on this list definitely achieved that. However, if a game didn't make it, rest assured that the issue isn't necessarily with the developers. Maybe I hadn't heard of it, didn't get a chance to try it, or simply didn't enjoy it as much as I expected. I created this channel to give shmups the spotlight they deserve, often overlooked in today's market, and to elevate the genre as a whole. So this list wasn't made to put anyone down. Some criticism will be made here, after all, not everything is perfect, but we'll address them in the due time. Finally, I decided not to create a ranked top 10 format. This list simply highlights the 10 titles that caught my attention the most in 2024 and, in my opinion, deserve recognition. That said, let's get to the list of the best shmups of 2024. Devilblade Reboot is a complete remake of the 1996 classic created by Shigetaki, a renowned Japanese illustrator known for his work with Vanillaware. Originally developed on the Xelan Plus for the PlayStation 1, the game is reborn on Steam with stunning visuals, breathtaking audio, and refined gameplay that reaffirms the shmup genre as both nostalgic and modern. This is undoubtedly one of the most exciting shmup in the recent years. Devilblade Reboot's gameplay revolves around two types of shots: narrow, more powerful but reducing the ship's mobility, and wide, weaker but capable of covering large areas without compromising movement. This simplicity is enhanced by a risk-reward scoring system. Destroying enemies at a close range increases the score multiplier, also activating the Berserk mode, triggered by surpassing 100% of a special bar. Further amplifies points but makes enemies tougher and more dangerous. It's a high-stakes dance of risk and reward that keeps the adrenaline pumping and the player on the edge of chaos. Despite featuring only 6 stages, the games offer great replayability through unlockables like the 1996 original version and earning coins to purchase extra items. With adjustable difficulty levels from accessible easy mode to challenging normal mode, the title caters to both newcomers and score chasers. Visually, Devilblade Reboot is spectacular. Scaled and rotated 2D sprites create an impressive pseudo 3D depth, while explosions and visuals elevate the intensity of every battle. The soundtrack, featuring metal tracks, perfectly complements the frenetic pace. Despite minor quirks, like the odd phrases bosses utter during battles, the game is a genre masterpiece balancing nostalgia with innovation.
Extermination protocol activated.
Airanblade is a love letter to the golden age of side-scrolling shooters, offering an intense, brutal and deeply satisfying experience that pays homage to classics like Contra while forging its own identity. Developed by Ivan Valerievich Suvorov and published by Retroware, this indie title takes players on a relentless journey through a world ravaged by a grotesque metal-devouring alien mass. With stunning visuals, sharp gameplay mechanics and a breathtaking soundtrack, Airanblade stands out as one of the best indie releases of the year. The premise is simple but effective. A monstrous alien creature escapes a research facility on the moon, consuming metal and turning the world into a biomechanical nightmare. Players control Vadim, a battle-hardened soldier, facing endless waves of enemies in a desperate fight to stop the invasion. The story unfolds through beautiful pixel art cutscenes, immersing players in a world of carnage and chaos. Each level, adorned with vibrant aesthetics inspired by H.R. Giger, presents unique challenges, from mutilated industrial landscapes to jaw-dropping biomechanical bosses. Where Airanblade truly shines is in its gameplay. Staying true to the inspirations, the game features responsive controls, a satisfying arsenal and challenging difficulty curve. Vadim can shoot in 8 directions, carry 2 weapons simultaneously, and use a lock-aim system, a modern touch essential in the chaos of hard mode. Power-ups enhance weapons, while temporary upgrades like the rapid multi-directional fire adds a strategic layer to combat. With 9 levels filled with varied enemies and epic boss fights, the game keeps the adrenaline flowing from start to finish. The visuals are paired with an explosive soundtrack that perfectly matches the on-screen carnage. Loud, bombastic and energetic, the music amplifies the game's frenetic rhythm. While Airanblade lacks a full online co-op mode, the inclusion of local multiplayer and Steam Remote Play ensures players can share the action with friends. The only real downside is its limited content. Veterans may finish the game in a few hours, craving for more. However, its challenges, unlockable skins, and top-notch experience more than compensate for its short duration. In the end, Airanblade delivers a near-perfect mix of nostalgia and innovation. Its stunning visuals, solid mechanics, and brutal gameplay create an unforgettable run-and-gun experience. For fans of the genre or newcomers, this is an indie that you shouldn't miss. Ganablade is a shmup that has been available for Steam for some time, but unfortunately has flown under the radar. Heavily inspired by compile classics like Zanak and Aleste, it deserves more attention for its fun weapon mechanics, well-designed stages, and a good variety of mini-bosses and bosses, delivering a solid experience from start to finish. Don't let the ultra-retro graphics and the upgrade shop between stages deter you. While it might look like something straight out of a Famicom, Ganablade incorporates several modern gameplay concepts, even capturing some of the essence of playing a modern bullet hell. It's as if Cave has existed in the 1980s and created a shmup for the Famicom, within the hardware limitations of course. There are 2 weapons and 2 ships available on the initial screen, but there's also a secret one that can be unlocked by pressing the J and L keys on the selection screen. The game features a variety of power-ups, hidden items to collect, and everything you would expect from a top-tier shmup, from 1988 at least. That said, while the 2 higher difficulty modes, called EX and EX Retro, provide a decent challenge, Ganablade isn't particularly hard to 1cc thanks to its generous autobomb system with regeneration. Overall, I expected more standout design moments, like the fire columns in Stage 3, but most of the game boils down to dodging dense bullet patterns that, while competent, don't stand out much in the sea of indie Danmaku shmups currently available. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was something I missed. Despite its lack of refinement, Ganablade is still a great choice for fans of the genre. It's a fun shmup with plenty of personality and absolutely deserves more recognition. It's impossible to talk about Xelan Force without thinking of Life Force, Crisis Force, or Star Force, or just any other shmup with Force in the title that came out from the NES between the mid-80s and early 90s. I know, you might be saying, oh no, another NES shmup made in 2024. And yes, just like Ganablade, Xelan Force leans heavily into the retro aesthetics, as if it were a lost shmup that never got released. However, much like its counterpart, it's an excellent game for many reasons. Xelan Force allows the player to choose between the offensive and defensive mode at the start of the game, which essentially determines the behavior of your options. Additionally, you combine various types of primary and secondary weapons, which aren't just collected from flying power-ups dropped by enemies, but also found in ground-based structures, blending elements from Aleste and the Star Soldier series. The game features 8 stages, with varied segments, including tight corridors and scrolling changes that adds dynamism. While it's an accessible shmup, it demands attention, especially with enemies that appear from behind without warning. Memorizing pattern helps a lot, but expect a slight higher difficulty level than Ganablade, where the weapons naturally feel a bit stronger. Playing Xelan Force feels like experiencing a classic NES shmup, complete with the punishing difficulty typical of the era. Accessibility points simply didn't exist back then, remember? The only issues I found with Xelan Force are related to the player interface. It's just plain white text in the bottom left corner, with no real emphasis, making it hard to read. It's sometimes difficult to identify your current primary and secondary weapons while dodging bullets, which affects decision making during gameplay. Additionally, some bosses are extremely tough to beat without certain weapons, leading to moments of pure frustration. If you're looking for a shmup with a total NES vibe, 8-bit graphics, chiptune soundtrack and nostalgic gameplay, Xelan Force delivers it all. Once again, don't let the ultra retro graphics stop you from having fun. Give Xelan Force a try and you won't regret it.
Stage 1.
If you're even slightly familiar with the current shmup scene, you probably heard of Therion, the creator of numerous modern shmups. His portfolio includes games that evoke the golden age of arcade and 16-bit STGs, from Terraflame, which pay homage to Technosoft's Thunder Force series, to Raging Blaster, inspired by Hudson Soft's Star Soldier games. Each title feels like discovering a lost classic. There's no denying Therion's deep passion for classic shoot-em-ups and his expertise in crafting them. In Missile Dancer 2, Therion steps away from the purely 2D format, creating his own rail shmup similar to Afterburner, complete with the original's lock-on targeting system, but also on even grander scales of action on screen. The gameplay focuses on speed and explosions, harking back to the superscalers of the past, where the priority was taking down enemies without getting distracted by the narrative. Each stage is quick and intense, offering an experience where 4 minutes can feel like a mere 30 seconds. The missions in Missile Dancer 2 demand skill in both offense and defense, with a missile system featuring different types like the M for multiple lock-ons and Napalm, and Spear for varied power and speed. Every choice matters, especially against robust bosses. Even with some flaws like the lack of shield restoration during gameplay, Missile Dancer 2 delivers a nostalgic and challenging experience worth exploring, especially for fans of arcade-style shoot-em-ups. With a vibrant soundtrack, sound effects that include a satisfying click when passing through rings, and an online scoring system to encourage competitiveness, Missile Dancer 2 is a celebration of the golden age of arcades. While it may lack innovation, its retro charm makes the experience worthwhile. If you love fast-paced arcade action, this game deserves a spot on your must-play list. I discovered Steel Mantis not through shmups, but when I stumbled upon Slain Back from Hell, a platformer heavily influenced by heavy metal. With each new game, they never fail to impress me. One thing they excel at is surprising their audience by creating a very different experience with every release. While Slain is a platformer, Valfaris, its successor, is a tribute to 16 and 32-bit run and gun games. As expected, they've changed the formula once again with Valfaris Mecha Therion. This game continues Therion's story and his pursuit of Lord Vrol. After escaping Valfaris, Therion now chases Lord Vrol across the galaxy. In the final confrontation, he unveils his ultimate weapon, a massive mecha. The most notable changes in this sequel is the genre shift. Valfaris Mecha Therion abandons the 2D action platformer style and embraces the shmup gameplay. It's not exactly a traditional arcade shmup where you die from a single hit, but more like Lords of Thunder on steroids. The game features melee and ranged weapons, each with unique mechanics and visual effects. Valfaris Mecha Therion also accommodates players who get frustrated when stuck in the story. It allows you to pick up where you left off. The game is quite lengthy and packed with secrets, so the design choice works well. It has its own pace and a compelling underlying narrative, making it stand out from arcade shmups. If you enjoy heavy metal, in visuals and music, and appreciate a solid narrative and are ready for a shmup with some unique twists, Valfaris Mecha Therion will not disappoint.
Bullet Time Conquest is lost. Power up.
Now, shifting gears from a somewhat unconventional game to a super traditional one, Airanblade is a shmup packed with classic elements, delivering an experience reminiscent of the mid-90s titles. With high-resolution 3D graphics, responsive gameplay, massive destructive weapons, and enemies appearing in memorization-based patterns, it checks all the right boxes. While not perfect, it's a debut of Romero, the solo developer who created everything in the game. It achieves its goal of accessibility. Airanblade isn't the hardest shmup in the world, and you're absolutely right if you think so. Romero aimed to create a less punishing experience, allowing continuous progression into more challenging levels. In other words, veteran pilots might find it too easy, but is an excellent entry point for newcomers looking to gain some XP in the genre. In addition to the 3D visuals, the soundtrack captures a 90s vibe, reminiscent of what you'd hear on an Amiga game. While it doesn't push boundaries, Airanblade embraces its arcade roots and executes the idea of a nostalgic shmup made 30 years later. It features True Tate mode, allowing you to swivel your monitor 90 degrees, a caravan mode, and several other modern concepts that were implemented in shmups later on. Ultimately, Airanblade is the heartfelt project of one person designed to evoke nostalgia for a genre we all love. If you're craving a straightforward, uncomplicated shmup, give it a shot. Mirage Feathers is an intense shmup that puts the player in control of Notari, a winged warrior searching for a missing friend. What begins as a personal mission quickly escalates into frantic battles against hordes of enemies. Each stage turns the sky into a chaotic battlefield, filled with enemy ships and bullets covering the screen. There is no room for hesitation, you must dodge, attack, and manage your resources with surgical precision. The energy system is at the heart of the gameplay. Every dodge or special attack consumes energy, which only replenishes by destroying enemies. This creates an engaging dynamic. Being offensive is essential for survival, but overusing energy can leave you vulnerable. Infinite ammo missiles ensure you're never completely unarmed, but unleashing the most devastating attacks require careful planning and strategy. Visually, the game is stunning, with detailed environments ranging from oceanic islands to explosive skies. The soundtrack and sound effects ramp up the adrenaline, though the sheer volume of stimuli may overwhelm some players. Nevertheless, Mirage Feathers offers an exhilarating experience, rewarding quick reflexes and full attention, making every victory deeply satisfying. If you're into challenging rail shmups and aren't intimidated by screens full of bullets, Mirage Feathers is a great choice. Just don't expect to relax, this game will keep your heart racing from start to finish.
Stage 1. 3, 2, 1, go! Power up. Chain bonus.
Here go again, talking about Therion, a remarkably fast developer who can release more than one game a year. Crystal Breaker, his latest title, is an innovative shmup that shakes up the genre with its unique melee combat mechanics. Set in the space age of 248, the game challenges players to pilot the Crystal Breaker ship to defend Earth from a mysterious threat. While the storyline is simple, it provides a solid motivation for intense action. The game's standout feature is the Crystal Break system, which rewards close-range combat. This mechanic encourages aggressive gameplay, where getting up close to enemies to shatter crystals is the key to gaining resources and powerful advantages. With two types of ships, one balanced and the other focused on close-range power, the game accommodates different playstyles. Additionally, the boost mechanic adds a strategic layer, enabling quick dodges or tactical reposition amid the chaos. With an affordable price, launch discounts and a free demo, Crystal Breakers feels like a modern-day reincarnation of Star Soldier. Once again, Therion combines nostalgia and innovation, delivering a title that promises to captivate veterans and newcomers alike.
Rank up. Chain bonus. Crystal bonus.
Dreadhunter blends the frantic chaos of a twin-stick shooter with the strategic depth of an action RPG, putting you in the role of an intergalactic monster hunter. Armed with a powerful futuristic mech suit, the goal is simple: eliminate hordes of alien creatures and otherworldly horrors while completing hunting contracts. The game stands out for its loot system, encouraging exploration to discover new weapons, abilities and upgrades. Additionally, the procedurally generated levels ensure that every session presents unique challenges and rewards. This game approach adds a high replayability factor, since you never know exactly what to expect in each floor or campaign. Facing off against massive bosses, each increasingly challenging, is the highlight of the action. The fast pace and tense gameplay, combined with full controller support, provides a smooth experience for both keyboard and mouse players, as well as those who prefer controllers like the Xbox models compatible with PC. Although there's no confirmation of console versions yet, Dreadhunter is already shaping up to be a solid promise for action and RPG fans on PC. It's a title worth keeping an eye on, especially for those who enjoy intense combat and a good dose of strategic exploration. And as expected, some titles released in 2024 were quite disappointing. Not necessarily because they are bad games, but simply because they didn't meet my expectations. The first on the list is Cygni All Guns Blazing, born from the partnership between developer Keyworks and former gaming giant Konami, which handled the publishing. The biggest problem I found in the game is that, well, despite piloting a ship and the wonderfully epic scenarios worthy of a Star Wars game, and the enormous production value evident in every detail, Cygni is something very strange. But it's definitely not a shmup. And no, don't give me the if there's a ship and it shoots, it's a shmup argument. We both know this nonsense. Cygni is a resource management game with visuals as stunning as they are confusing, unconventional controls, and perhaps a few drops of shmup elements diluted in a bucket of water. But let's be honest, this mix is far from being a shmup. Of course, it seemed like a promising game. After all, it was Konami signing a shmup, something that hadn't happened since Otomedio's Xelan in 2011. Unfortunately, expectations weren't met. Some people told me I need to get used to the game, or that I didn't understand it. Frankly, as a shmup enthusiast since the 80s, who has no issue with adapting to new concepts, well, I play all sorts of games, I can say I didn't enjoy Cygni. And I'm not saying it's inherently bad, but if you share my profile, someone who has been playing shmup since the 80s, it might not be for you either. With Riding Nova, the disappointment was different, because I genuinely hoped to enjoy Cygni. I wanted those amazing graphics and Konami's shmup legacy to turn into something truly grand. But when I saw Riding Nova was essentially just a Vampire Survivors clone with a raiding theme, any hope was instantly dashed. Don't get me wrong, I love Vampire Survivors, I've played it extensively, but this feels like a lazy move from Moss, copying a successful formula and only changing the graphics. It's like that classmate who copies your homework and thinks the teacher won't notice. Sure, Moss has the right to make money, and as the owners of the Riding franchise, they can do whatever they want with it, but as a consumer, I honestly felt cheated. And Macross shooting in sight was disappointing for other reasons. Firstly, let's face it, shmups based on the Macross series seems cursed. With the exception of Macross Scrambled Valkyrie for the Super Famicom, which is excellent by the way, all the others are mediocre games relying mostly entirely on the fame of the series. Shooting Inside is no exception. It's not particularly outstanding in any area and suffers from a massive identity crisis, unable to decide what kind of game it wants to be. The result left many players confused, and the hype ultimately didn't hold up, which is a shame, as I really wanted it to be good since I love the anime. Okay, enough about what went wrong in shmups this year. I'd like to mention a few shmups I enjoyed, albeit not as much as those mentioned earlier. These are good games, but I didn't find myself dedicating as much time to them. Still, I think you should give them a shot. You might enjoy them. First up is Blue Revolver Double Action, which I didn't include among the year's best because it's an older game that just received a massive update. The original game was already excellent and the update made it even better. I Got Isekai'd into a Shmup is another solid title, reminiscent of many cave shmups, especially the Dodonpachi series. With a bit more polish, it could be perfect. Don't skip it. I had a lot of fun playing. Zakesta Z isn't a 2024 release either. It's an official Steam launch of an indie doujin game with some improvements. It's also quite fun and worth revisiting. Lastly, the Tuaplan Arcade Collection deserves a shout out. It's a stellar effort to bring Tuaplan's library to the PC, emulated faithfully and loaded with usability and quality of life options. They've made the entire Tuaplan Shmup library available on Steam and they did a fantastic job. So, that's my take on the best shmups of 2024. I'm sure you disagree with some points and agree with others, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more shmup updates, and share this video with your friends because, you know, it means a lot to us. And thank you so much for watching the video to the end, and see you soon. Peace out and bye.